Well, welcome back. It is another installment of Ask Eddie and Anne. How are you, Anne?
I'm I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, we're laughing. It's been a really horrible week,
Me too.
but yeah, okay, good. So I'm glad to see we can both laugh. We are both apparently in new positions. Somebody wrote in a while ago saying, "Why don't you do it in a different place so we can see more of your house?" And I thought that was really invasive, but but then today I didn't really want to go upstairs, so I decided that I would do this from the living room. Of course, there's an ulterior motive and all of that that will become clear shortly. Um, but overall, we're here and we're ready to go. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
I will right off say that the ulterior motive is in my lap, and you're not going to get much action out of this one, but there
Oh,
she is.
so sweet. The traveling cat.
The traveling cat, yes, the one who went with us to the TCM festival. This is Tizzy. Hi, Tiz. How you doing? Oh, you got something in your eye. Okay, there you go. But seriously, she's not as active as Charlotte and Emily, so she's not gonna be moving around too much. She'll just be parked in my lap for most of this conversation. But when a particular question comes up that she might want to weigh in on, I think she'll make an appearance. But otherwise, she's going to be pretty calm and just kind of hanging out here. So, okay, Tiz, take it easy. All right. Do we? Oh, I see. There's yours.
Yeah, she's
I thought that was like a pillow or something. Now I see that that's an actual feline back there.
yeah. Which one are you? That I'm not sure which one it is.
I'm glad that it's impossible for you to tell. I just got this one now, so we can make no mistake. Okay, relax, Tiz. Just sit down and do your thing. There you go. Okay.
Okay, so
All
before
right.
we start on questions,
Yes.
so you should tell us about North City, Boston, because it's happening.
Yes, Noir City, Boston is happening. I can't even remember the dates at the moment, but it is happening in June at the Brattle Theater. We've done it there many times before. Um, Foster Hirsch will be handling the hosting duties because I am otherwise engaged at that time on a super secret project that I'm working on that will become clear in the fullness of time. But Foster is great, and so
Yes.
it's 6 films over the 3 or 4 days at the Brattle Theater.
Yeah, and I
It's
will
a
get
it's a pretty good lineup of films too. I know Naked Alibi and Alias Nick Beale and Woman on the Run, Too Late for Tears, The Great Gatsby, the Alan Ladd version of The Great Gatsby, which is a real rarity that people will want to see. And there's one other film that I'm missing at the moment, but and what are the dates?
the
And
dates are June 10th through 13th.
yeah, June 10th through the 13th. So yeah, if folks are in that area, they definitely want to check that out. It's a very, very intimate venue. It is the smallest theater that we do a Noir City Festival in. I don't even know if there's 200 seats in that house. So, um, but it's really great. It's right in Harvard Square, very bustling, lots of other stuff going on around there. So it's a good road trip destination for folks who don't live right in the immediate Boston area. So that's good. Thanks for mentioning that, Anne.
Okay, now
Um,
we're ready for questions, unless there's something else. Oh, well, the new print edition of the recent North City magazine is available on Amazon. That's our
the
other
new print
news.
edition is available. I'm also, darn it, now I'm kind of trapped in this spot. I've got Tizzy on my lap. I've got my laptop on a TV tray. I've got everything set up here. There's a light over here, everything, so I can't really move. And otherwise, I would have gotten, in addition to the new print edition of the Noir City magazine, I just received in the mail the new Flicker Alley Blu-rays of The Guilty and High Tide.
All
Those
right.
just arrived. So those are available for shipping now. So if folks haven't pre-ordered that, they don't have to pre-order anymore. If they order, I think they're going to get them. I think the street date is May 31st or something, but hang on, Tiz. But they look great. I'm just so pleased with the way that all turned out. So that's our latest. So a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. So let's dive in, Ann. You want to kick us off with the first question?
Yes, and you can order the restorations through flickeralley.com, just so you know. Yeah, okay, so here's the first question, and this is Robin from San Francisco. Which one of the two versions of Howard Hawks' The Big Sleep do you prefer? The one filmed and held back in 1945, or the one revised and released a year later with additional new scenes?
I don't actually have a preference in that regard. I mean, of course, the new scenes are great because it was all Bogart and Bacall stuff, and I've lost track of all this. I know there's one that attempts to explain the plot a little more coherently than the other one. I can't remember whether that was the first one or the re-release, but I actually don't really have a preference. Oddly, I tend to go with the original cuts in most cases. I'm one of those weird people that likes the original cut of Touch of Evil better than the restored cut where the titles aren't over the opening shot. I kind of like it with the titles over the opening shot. But that's just me. So I guess I'll say the one that has more Bogart and Bacall in it. How about you?
Honestly, it's been so long since I've seen both of them that I can't actually remember the differences, to tell you the truth.
It's mostly addition of scenes of Bogart and Bacall sitting around talking.
Yeah.
So if it was anybody but Bogart and Bacall, I'd probably say, why are they slowing down the pace?
Yeah.
I mean, the film is losing momentum, and as everybody knows, in a story like that, in a detective story, the momentum is everything, right? You don't remember these movies because of the dialogue scenes where the plot is explained. You remember them because things are happening so fast, and it's a new location, and new stuff is happening, and somebody's coming through the door with a gun, and it's just really exciting, even if it doesn't make sense. But that said, who's going to argue against more Bogart and Bacall?
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I will field the next one. You have said that Casablanca is not noir. See, this is what happens when you get a TV show. People hear this stuff. Please contrast Casablanca with To Have and Have Not, and explain why the Lauren Bacall film is considered noir while the Ingrid Bergman film is not. That's Steve from SF. Do you have an opinion about that, Ann?
Well, I don't really think To Have and Have Not is really a noir.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Uh-oh, look, two of them now. I do agree. I really don't think To Have and Have Not is a noir either. Oh, she's up to no good. I can tell. She's got, oh my gosh, whether she's going to attack you or her sister, I'm not sure, but there's definitely something afoot here.
Which means that's Charlotte.
That's Charlotte. Well, she may just fall asleep the way she's looking right now. Here, let's see if she can see this. It's the monster. Okay. See, that's what I have to. Tizzy won't climb on me or get up, and I have to pick her up and hold her and do all that business. Anyway, so I agree with you, Ann. I don't actually think To Have and Have Not is a film noir either. I have a hard time as I've said before, Howard Hawks is not my idea of a noir filmmaker, because he liked movies with infallible heroes who always got the better of everybody, and that's kind of the antithesis of film noir. So that's it. I really don't think either of those films qualify. I mean, of the Bogart and Bacall movies, of course, all the other ones are pretty much noir, right? I mean, Big Sleep, Dark Passage, Key Largo. I don't think you could argue that any of those are film noir. But to Have and Have Not, I'm taking a pass on that one. Not noir.
With the tragedy, oh, this is from Alan. With the tragedy on the set of Rust, I wonder if any tragedy ever occurred on a film noir set that either of you have heard of.
That's interesting. The only one I know of is, and I'm going to, because I'm trapped right now, I'm going to dishonor this person by not remembering their name. I think his name was Thompson. He worked on the crew of The Lady from Shanghai, and the very first shot of the movie, he died of a heart attack. It's not the same kind of thing as what happened with Rust. That was a movie inspired kind of thing. I mean, it was really, really hot. And we only know about this because William Castle wrote it in his diary, because William Castle was working as the assistant director on that film. And, he's Wells called action on the very first shot, and this guy who was on the crew just clutched his heart and keeled over and dropped dead of a heart attack. And Castle wrote, "Bad omen." We shouldn't be laughing about it. It is kind of sad. And I'm also feeling kind of lousy this week because I was so distraught over Ray Liotta's death.
Yeah.
He is not much older than me,
Mm-hmm.
and that just really hurt. So anyway, that's why I find it like chuckling over that poor fella's demise is pretty inappropriate. Anyway, Sharon says it's always exciting to find a film noir you've never seen before. I recently saw the 1946 movie Suspense.
Great film. I love that movie.
It was great, she says. I had never heard of Belita before. What an amazing skater. Skater, she notes. The best line in the film is, he should have stuck to his peanuts. And so Sharon wants to know if there are any more ice skating noirs that we can recommend. Well, of course, if there's an ice skating noir, Belita is the star of the film. And Sharon, there's only one other one. It's called The Hunted from 1948, a film that in some ways I like even more than Suspense. And she plays a paroled jailbird who just happens to be a pretty good figure skater, as Preston Foster says. And he gets her a job while she's on parole, skating during intermission of the hockey games at the old Polar Palace in Los Angeles. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite Belita role, is the one she plays in The Hunted, even though the skating is way better in Suspense. I mean, some of those numbers are just fantastic.
Yeah.
And some of them are they're like ice ballets. That one she does that has kind of the Caribbean theme with the guy with the bongo drums and all that's all pretty fantastic. It's much more rudimentary in The Hunted, but she still is skating in that film. And Vera Hruba Ralston, who is also a figure skater, she's in a few noir films as well. One called Accused of Murder, based on a W.R. Burnett story, but she doesn't skate. She just, quote unquote, acts in that film. But Sharon, I'm so glad that you understand the appeal of Belita, because she's a personal favorite of mine and of Charlotte's. I can tell she's
Yes.
perking up as she hears Belita, Belita. Look at her. Tizzy could care less about Belita.
Okay, it's always so exciting to find
No, that's
we
the
already
one.
did
That's
that
the one
one.
we just did.
This is from John in Cape Cod. Several classic films that seem to me to have particularly fitting non-jazz scores are Where the Sidewalk Ends, Human Desire, and Nightmare Alley. And they're all list Maurice Depac for music department. Do you know any stories about him, the role of orchestras in noir, or any challenges of restoring the soundtracks of old films?
Huh. John, I hate to disappoint you, but I know absolutely nothing about Maurice Depac. What's interesting in that comment is that you saw his name on those three films, and what's interesting is that two of them are Fox films, but Human Desire is not. Human Desire is a Columbia film, so that's kind of interesting, because that means that Maurice Depac was sort of a for-hire guy, or else he moved from Fox over to Columbia, because Human Desire is the latest of those films. Again, I wish I was in my office now, because then I could reach over and pull all of these CD soundtracks off my shelf. There are companies that restore and distribute, not all, but a lot of these old soundtracks. And I'm sure somebody watching this on Facebook will chime in with the name of the outfit that does that. It's a very simple name, but they do all kinds of great work. One of the best was they restored Bernard Herrmann's soundtrack for On Dangerous Ground, which is just spectacular, and put that out as an album, even with every track. I mean, it wasn't just the stuff that appeared in the movie; it was everything that he recorded for that score, and it's really remarkable. And there's a lot of those, But if you're into that, if you're into the music, you need to be cautious to find the actual scores and not reproductions of the scores. Or, there are a lot of terrific collections where it's like an orchestra redoing the scores, sampling, if you will, the scores from classic noir films and everything. But I sort of prefer the actual original orchestrations from the films, and you can find a lot of them. So a little searching and you'll be able to come up with that stuff. And now I'll have to do my own research to find out something about Maurice Depac, because I don't know anything about him. Okay. Martin, our friend in the Netherlands, Martin wants to know if either of us have seen the movie No Good Deed by Bob Rafelson, based on a Hammett story. It would surprise me if it was any good, but who knows? I'm curious, Martin, why you get a Dashiell Hammett story directed by Bob Rafelson, and you'd be surprised if it was any good. Here's where I want to say, you're right, it's no good. But I can't say that because I haven't seen it. I have not seen the film. So this may be what I'm watching tonight. Have you seen it, Ann?
I've not seen it. I was not aware of it.
No Good Deed by Bob Rafelson. He made some movies after, he hit his prime, with Five Easy Pieces and The King of Marvin Gardens, and I'll even throw Stay Hungry in there. I'm not a huge fan of his version of The Postman Always Rings Twice, but I don't think it's a bad film in any way. I just think that Jack Nicholson was horribly miscast in that movie. But that's why it got made, is because Jack Nicholson was in it. But he did another picture with Nicholson. What was it called? Blood and Wine, I think
Yeah,
it
Blood and
was.
Wine. Yeah.
Blood and Wine. That wasn't too bad. It was, he makes very eccentric movies. Bob Rafelson is a very eccentric filmmaker, which I appreciate now more than ever because there are so few eccentric filmmakers in the mainstream. It's just not a thing that happens very much. So anyway, so it's a long way of saying, Martin, that I haven't actually seen the movie. So maybe people can weigh in and tell us their opinion of the film if they have seen it. But it's one that I will be looking for.
Okay. Mike, this is for Joe from Berkeley. My therapist and I sometimes start our sessions with a few minutes of Noir catching up. He believes in a Noir moment in which each film contains a character's decision that irrevocably changes their lives. Can you each think of a favorite Noir moment?
That's pretty funny, Joe. I love the way my therapist and I sometimes start our sessions with. There's a lot of good noirs with therapists,
Yeah.
And I want you to know, Joe, that I actually think that in the most humble way possible, I will say, I think I'm the person who actually coined that term, the noir moment. Because that was the very first audio commentary I ever did for Born to Kill. There is the noir moment where Claire Trevor should phone the police when she finds the body in the rooming house in Reno, but she doesn't call the police. Instead, she just hangs up the phone and leaves and gets on the train. And that is the noir moment. And I sort of define the noir moment as it's when you're supposed to call the police. You're supposed to turn it over to the authorities, but then you never do.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, virtually all of film noir is based on this, right? The moment when you can do the right thing and you choose not to. So, right? So, Anne, I mean, there are literally dozens and dozens of examples of the noir moment.
Oh, it's funny because what I was thinking about as you spoke was Better Call Saul, because they have the Bad Choice Road, right? Which is this constant theme through there where you see people making these decisions or putting down in a path of where bad things happen. And that happens sort of over and over again. And like I said, Mike even calls that out at one point in a dialogue with Saul. So that's like where my head went.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And like, not to spoil it for people who may have not gotten into Better Call Saul yet, but do we need a moment of silence this week, Anne, for your...
Don't, because like I was really, really,
should we even
upset.
go there?
Yeah, no, I was like hyperventilating, crying.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising. But then you got to read the next day. Did you read the interview with him in Vanity Fair?
No, I'm gonna have to look it up. I've been horribly
and
busy.
And we're being very good because we're not even naming the character or the actor or anything.
Yeah.
But there was a really fun piece in Vanity Fair where the writer who clearly knew him before this called him the day after it appeared to interview him about it. He said, my mother is not going to be happy about this.
I've actually watched many interviews with him. He's a really good interview, and that was also my favorite character. So it was extremely upsetting for me.
But that's why I love that show, and that's why like Breaking Bad. Okay, she's kind of futzing now because she wants to get down. So I think she's going to have one last appearance. Tizzy, say hello.
Hey, goodbye.
Say hello to your fans out there. Hi, I'm Tizzy. I'm really not happy right now. I'm going to go over here instead. Okay, there you go. Champ, okay. We may have to take a break. She may need a break here in a minute. But um, all of, well, you know, the episode before that when Kim turns the car around.
Yeah.
Right. That's the, you know, that's the moment. It's
Yeah.
like if she doesn't do that, if she doesn't turn the car around, none of what happens is going to happen.
Yeah.
So that was truly the noir moment.
Yeah.
Or how, you know, like you have the two noir moments in a film like Too Late for Tears, where the first one is the mistake, the
Yeah.
noir mistake, where the bag gets thrown into the convertible up on Mulholland Drive, you know, where Arthur Kennedy and Liz Scott are driving. And then, of course, comes the noir moment where she says, we're not turning the money in, we're keeping the money.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it. No Country for Old Men, when Josh Brolin decides to take the satchel from the crime scene, right? That's your noir moment. So, yes, there are many, many of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael, our friend Michael from Post Falls, Idaho. Hold on a second. Tizzy is really, she's over here on this chair. You have to understand, Tizzy is a special needs cat. So getting up and down off a chair is like not the particularly easy thing for her. And now she is trying so hard to get off this chair and like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. No, she's not. No, she's not. And she's just freaking me out. So hold on one moment, please. I have to do this. Okay, kiddo. Here you go.
That's
Okay,
an unhappy cat.
You're down. Okay, there we go. Now she can walk around. Okay. All of that was just so that the folks at home could see you, Tizzy. And you're really such an exciting animal.
She's beautiful.
She is a cutie. Indeed, she is. Okay, Michael in Post Falls, Idaho, is a fan of Alain Delon, his acting, not his politics, Michael wants to point out, and recently saw him in Mr. Klein, directed by Joe Losey. He says, many consider this his best performance. Which is your favorite? And then he notes that Le Samurai is his. I have to confess, I have not seen all of Alain Delon's movies, right? Unlike my friend Dana Delaney, who went on a massive Delon binge last year where she watched every movie the guy made. I haven't done that yet, but Le Samurai is clearly built around his particularly frosty persona. And so that's a good choice, but I really like him. You know, I think Mr. Klein is his best performance. I really like him in the film with Gabon, Any Number Can Win.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic in that. I love Rocco and His Brothers. I think there's a lot of really good performers in that, but Delon is kind of a standout to me. Do you have any particular films of his that you like, Anne?
I have not seen Mr. Klein, but I think my overall favorite film of his, and not just because of his performance, but the whole film, was Le Cercle Rouge. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, good choice.
Even I think that the detective kind of steals the film, which is interesting because I guess he was actually a vaudeville performer that plays a detective that's hunting him down. That may also be because he has all those Siamese cats, which of course makes me very
well, and you know, for all of his stylistic elan, whatever you want to say, Melville is also great with actors because just in terms of his casting, he always casts precisely the right person. Okay, they're starting to fuss in the back. Oh no, they're gonna chill now. This is a big cat show. The cat lovers are gonna really enjoy this one. This is a big cat show. I'm trying to think if there was any other ones of Delon's, but I mean, I like all the crime ones. You know, that I gravitate towards those because they're like the ones that that's what I specialize in. So I need to see more of his films that are not genre films. but those ones that we mentioned, you can't go wrong at all. Okay, William from Lafayette says that watching after some 30 years John Schlesinger's The Day of the Locust, I was wondering why in the early to mid 70s there was such an attraction with films made about Hollywood's golden years. Donald Sutherland was sublime in Locust. What are your opinions of this neglected classic? Have you seen Day of the Locust, Anne?
I've never seen Day of the Locust.
You should
No.
you should rectify that.
Yeah.
I remember thinking at the time that I saw it, which was back when it first came out, that even then I thought it was I felt it was a little overwrought. But I need to go back and revisit it. But I did feel that Donald Sutherland as Homer was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. All the actors were good in it. William Atherton and Karen Black. Jackie Earle Haley is the kid you just want to kill, which triggers the whole thing, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jackie Earle Haley as a little kid in that movie, right? Before he that guy's had an interesting career. Very interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
And Burgess Meredith is also really good in Day of the Locust. The reason I think there was this interest in old Hollywood at that point, and I'm trying to think of other films, like Hearts of the West was a personal favorite of mine. You ever seen that with Jeff Bridges? Hearts of the West. And Andy Griffith has a great role in that. It's a comedy about making like B westerns in old Hollywood. It's really, really good. Rin Tin Tin, The Dog That Saved Hollywood, and there were. I really think it's because in the early '70s it was a generation of filmmakers who loved old Hollywood. I mean, they were showing their appreciation for it. And even if they weren't making a film about old Hollywood, they were making films that were inspired by old Hollywood, Paul Schrader was writing all of these films that were his take on all those genre pictures that he loved from the 40s and 50s. Obsession, that he wrote and Brian De Palma directed. That was their Hitchcock movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty good film. Scorsese, it wasn't the 70s, but Scorsese did New York, New York, which is his kind of Gene Kelly, Stanley Donen, Vincent Minnelli musical. So I think a lot of those filmmakers, and I don't know that John Schlesinger fits in that particularly well, but I do think at that time that was a thing that a lot of filmmakers were doing, is they were paying their respects to the films that taught them their craft. That's my assessment of it. Anyway.
Okay. Any chance of giving us the inside story on what happened with the Castro? Will we ever return? Are we lost forever? Has someone raised our gallows high? I still, sorry, that just cracked me up.
This is Chuck. I know who this is.
I still remember talking to Bill Arney up in the projection booth, and his understated sarcasm even worked up there. It was a rolling sense of amusement that was a joy. And that is from Chuck.
What's happened with the Castro is, the family still owns the theater. The family feels entitled to do what they want with the property that they own. I'll address this, but I'm going to try to do this very generically, because it's not an issue that is specific only to the Castro Theatre. I mean, this is an issue that we're faced with everywhere. so the family owns it. They want to get the maximum profit out of their property. I don't want to say their investment because they didn't invest anything in it, right? They inherited it from the people that built it. So they've turned it over to another company to manage and operate it as they see fit, believing that as a concert venue, it will survive economically and prosper more than as a movie theater. Where everything stands now is, I know that politics are now getting into it because the Board of Supervisors has sponsored a resolution to bestow landmark status on the interior of the theater as well as the exterior, because people realized that they were going to alter the interior of the theater to make it more amenable to concerts. In other words, removing the raked floor, which is what all movie theaters have, and putting in tiered seating with removable seats. And the defense of this, from their perspective, the defense of this is Another Planet Entertainment that is now going to be the operator of the facility, was, well, you can still do movies there. You just have to, the chairs will be removable. You have to bring the chairs in to put them on these tiered sections. But in truth, this is going to be such an economic obstacle to anybody putting on a film festival. I think you certainly are seeing the end of any kind of regular movie going there. And because you will now have to bring in your own projection, your own seating, all of these things will be extra expenses for anybody trying to put on a film festival. And already these things operate at an incredibly slim margin, right? When you're showing movies, it's not like a live performance where you can jack up the ticket prices and charge $75 for a live concert. You can't do that for a film show. So I don't actually see how this works economically. So, I mean, that's where it's at. I mean, I think I think the new operators are giving themselves an opportunity to say, we're being collaborative, because they're not altering it to the point where it's impossible to show movies, but they are altering it to the point where it is no longer economically feasible to show movies. And they're basically saying that, well, then that's on the person renting the theater. They have to figure out a way to make it economically feasible. But, that's, I just don't see how that happens, and then you just add in that the changing tastes of the audience, especially, I have to say, especially in San Francisco, which is such a tech-centric place now, that in 5 or 10 years, it's hard to imagine people going to the movies when they can be streaming at home on 80-inch television screens. I mean, or 80-inch smart TVs, or whatever the hell you're going to call them in the future. It's just, it's just the times have changed. I'm not saying that it's the end of anything, but I'm saying that it is very hard to make a buck this way.
Yeah,
And you got to make a buck to stay alive. That is, and I guess bottom line in this whole discussion is, if you believe in the capitalist system, then this is what it is, right? I mean, the people who own the property get to decide what they do with it. And if if you believe in that, then this is the fallout. If you don't believe in that, then you think the city should take over and there should be some kind of, bureaucratic thing that says you can't do that for the good of the culture. But I think America, we've proven that we're really horrible at that. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, and I think too, it's kind of interesting. My mom and I got into this discussion this morning because I was talking about physical media because I still buy films on physical media, right? And and the reason why I do that is the way that streaming works, which is streaming has things that are up there for a period of time while they're profitable, right? It's not like a video store. They made the investment in the DVD or the VHS, right? And they just keep it because people come back to it. And the problem with streaming mainly is that you can't really see classic films. Realistically, streaming, there's just not that much, right? There's like Criterion and then TCM. And so it used to be when you had repertory theater, like the Castro was, the Neptune was at one time in Seattle, you had these people that were programmers and they were really curators. So you would get exposed to all these different films that you wouldn't have gotten exposed to because the programmer was doing that. And then when you had video stores, you had people that were buying for the video store and people that worked there that were knowledgeable that could turn you on to things. So it's like these films essentially are being lost. And, as I explained to my mom, it's just sort of like if you took the Louvre and you just closed it down and no one could see those art pieces anymore. And I think a big problem with how film is viewed is it's not really viewed as an art form. So when things are no longer accessible, people don't view it the same way as if you could no longer go see a painting in a museum.
Right. No, I agree completely. Yeah. I mean, this is the argument that Scorsese and Guillermo del Toro that they're making now is that the disrespect towards the medium as an art form is pretty irreversible, it seems at this point, because the more control goes to these people, the streaming services, the more the product is treated just like a widget or anything else. It could be anything. The real reason why you're smart, Anne, I believe, to hold on to your physical media is because none of these streaming services, I mean, you said it. You said exactly the thing, but you have no control over it. You have when you can buy the physical object, you have control over your library of films. The streaming service, just like you were saying about what if they just closed down the Louvre, is like, yeah, that's exactly it, because you have no control over any of those services. I have to be very careful not to cite them by name because I work for some of them. And but they could just decide tomorrow that an insufficient number of eyeballs are looking at these titles, therefore we're junking those titles.
Well, not that,
and
but
you're never going to see them again streaming. And so you have to have them as physical media if that's what you intend to do. But that's not 100% true, because what they will do is they'll say, well, we've lost interest in these, and then they'll put them up for sale to somebody else. And I go through this all the time with these companies. It'll be like, well, I would really like to put out this and this and this, right, as a digital product that you can actually hold in your hand. And they'll say, that's ridiculous. You have to buy 300 titles from us, not 3.
Yeah.
You have to make a deal for 300 titles. And then how do you curate? How do you curate anything, But this is not totally a new issue, because Hey, as somebody who grew up in the 70s and remembered listening to FM radio
Yeah.
in the 70s, when disc jockeys were you know, they were the kings and queens of their kingdom. They would play whatever they wanted to play on the radio. You know, I had the good fortune of growing up in San Francisco with KSAN radio and Tom Donahue and these people, and they would like play, they'd get a new album and they'd play like, here's side B of Hendrix's new album, you know? They'd play the whole damn thing straight through. They were probably smoking a joint in the studio while they did it or something. But it was amazing because it was like anything could happen. But now all radio is corporate controlled, and there isn't, I mean, you might find a college run station here or there, you know, like KUSF or, you know, KCSM. They're all affiliated with colleges that where the disc jockeys still have the ability to program what they want to program. But otherwise, it's all corporate. It's all corporate decision making. This is what you are going to listen to. So.
Yeah, and I also wanted to kind of circle back about the film thing too, because I think another real threat to things being available to see with films is political correctness. Is there's getting to be this like huge backlash about, you know, oh, you shouldn't show these things because they have offensive stereotypes or whatever. And it's like, you're not going to be able to watch anything because those were the times. And you're also, I don't think that's good because you're also not acknowledging that that's what was going on at the time either. And also I find it hypocritical as well because like Song of South is evil, but Gone with the Wind's okay. Or, you know, which is apocryphal. And, you know, I find Breakfast at Tiffany's deeply offensive. I've never been able to get over the Mickey Rooney thing.
It's hard to get through that movie anyway.
Yeah.
That's a movie that's its pleasures have always escaped me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really a fan either.
I would rather look at photographs of Audrey Hepburn than actually watch her in that movie because I don't buy that character for 1 second of screen time. I just think that movie is, I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan. Yeah. Anyway, obviously we could go on about this subject, and with the political correctness thing, I completely agree with you, which is in some ways even more of a danger than the corporatization and their, you know, commodifying of all of these movies, because it's basically brainwashing the future audience into thinking the movies don't have value. Yeah. Which is not the issue with the corporations. The issue with them is the value is just money.
Yeah.
It's not cultural correctness, you know.
Yeah.
And so old movies are facing a challenge from both of these forces simultaneously, because the reality is if you start nitpicking every old movie to find fault with it, all you have to do is just zoom up to the heads of the studios and you will ban everything because those weren't particularly stellar humans running things, you know. Yeah. But same as it ever was, right? Yeah. I mean, the good guys have never been in charge, right? So you take what you can get. And it's amazing how much fantastic work gets produced anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, so all right, moving on.
Okay.
Chuck set us off on a massive detour there, but that's okay. All right, Dave in where is Dave in Pie Creek, Queensland?
Yeah,
holy cow.
We got one from Queensland.
That's pretty great. When I was at the Silent Film Festival, I met a lovely guy from Australia who watches us all the time.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. Anyway, Dave is a lapsed noirista who has been born again.
Oh, good.
That's good. But back home in Queensland after a sojourn overseas. That's when he was born again. He developed his interest in noir late in life and in a foreign land. It leaves me abysmally ignorant about Australian noir. Pardon me. I've been finding recent Australian noirs, but I'm out for a duck. There you go. A little regional slang, but I'm out for a duck when trying to find any Australian noir from the classic era. Best I can do is Wake in Fright. Have you ever seen that? Wake in Fright, Ted Kotcheff's movie. That's pretty good. But that's 1971. You know, rather late and more of a horror film than a noir film. Do you know any classic Australian noir that we would recommend? Well, I'm out of luck. I'm out for a duck on this one, Dave, because I really don't until, you know, Australia is like Scandinavia in the sense that it's noir has come late, and you know, now there's a whole genre of Scandinavian noir, both you know, in books and in movies. And in Australia, the new noir stuff has been really good, you know.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
And which allows me to give a plug for my friend Thomas Jane's series Troppo, which is now streaming in this country, but it was made in Australia. And Tom's the executive producer, and it's really good. It's like an 8-part series set in the north end of Australia, and it's super hot, and it's good. It's just I told him, I said it was a cross between let me get this right. It was a cross between True Detective, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Heavenly Creatures, but with a lot of crocodiles.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, because the crocodiles play a big part in the story. And it's like small town noir with a lot of crocodiles. Don't stray too close to the water.
Okay, so just really quick, you interviewed him.
I did.
And where can people see that interview?
I posted it on Facebook, but as Anne, I'm talking directly to the listeners. I don't know anything about how this technical stuff works. Okay, I don't. It was like a miracle. Anne knows that I did that interview with Tom. He was in France, and I was here in my home, and we had this great half-hour talk, and on Zoom, and I recorded it. I was so proud of myself, and then I don't know how to find the recording. And I was like texting Anne furiously, like, where do Zoom recordings go? I don't know where it is. I don't know what it's called. I don't know anything. I have to upload this somehow and blah, blah, blah. I did puzzle it out, but that's me. I mean, I am a total Luddite when it comes to this stuff. So everyone should obviously be aware that Anne is in charge of all of this stuff and records all of this, and it sends the Zoom invites, all that stuff, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So maybe we can put a link to that talk with Tom in the stream with this or something. Yes. You'll know how to do that. I, of course, won't know how to do that.
And I have already shared it to the Film Noir Foundation Facebook page.
Okay, very good.
So it is on there. And, you know, let me know if you want to put it up on the YouTube channel for the North City SF YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's great.
Do that too.
You know, I don't normally do like promo stuff for other, especially if it's not something affiliated with TCM or something.
Yeah.
But Tom is a good buddy of mine because he truly is a noir guy, and he found this novel by Candace Fox called Crimson Lake. And it was his production company that sort of got the ball rolling on this, and it became I can't say it's a U.S.-Australia co-production. It's a Thomas Jane Australia co-production, and it's good. It's really good. So sorry, Dave, but I know nothing about classic Australian noir. Perhaps some of our viewers in Australia, I know of at least one, can fill us in if there are some titles we should be watching.
Yeah, because I don't know much about Australian film before the kind of exploitation period in the 70s where they made a lot of really great low budget films. But
Right.
I don't really know anything about classic Australian cinema.
Because honestly, in this country, I think Wake and Fright was not a particularly well-known film, but I remember when it came out in the early 70s. And then after that, it was like the next Australian film anybody knew anything about was Mad Max.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. And, so before that, I don't know what the deal was. I do know that they have a lot of American film noir in Australia because I have learned that the studios in Hollywood would ship movies down to Australia for the theaters,
yeah.
and then they never came back.
Yeah.
Because it was too expensive to ship them back, so they just stayed there. And of course, they were hugely popular because they didn't have to be translated or subtitled or anything. So there is a wealth of American noir in Australia. And I remember one time some people from Australia contacted me and said, would you ever consider doing a film noir thing in Australia? And when I made some inquiries about that, they just said, well, it's nothing new to us because all of it's on TV all the time because the films stayed here.
Yeah.
And if they weren't showing them in movie theaters, they were showing them on The Late Show and all this stuff. So I think Australia certainly knows much more about American noir than Americans know about Australian noir. If there is such a thing as Australian noir, we'll find out.
Okay, this is Rick from Magnolia, Texas. And this is our, no, I missed one. God, I'm really off today. So we talked about that. Okay, so this is from David. From time to time, you've shown films from non-English speaking countries. Which foreign country made the best film noir? What are your top three or five foreign film noirs?
3 or 5. Dave likes the odd numbers. Okay. Anne, you go first. Do you have any particular favorite? And do you have a country that isn't the United States that where you really like the films? And I know exactly what you're going to say, but go right ahead.
Yes, I do love Danish films. So
yes,
of course, that's a big thing for me. I was gonna try and gear a little more towards the classic period, and I haven't really seen that much classic Danish film, which I would love to see, but sort of an accessibility issue. So I mean, one of my all-time favorites is In Case of Emergency, which was an adaptation of a Georges Simon novel with Jean Gabin and oh my God, I'm blanking on her name.
I don't know because I haven't seen the movie. So now I've this has been a great session because I'm coming away with like 5 movies to watch.
Brigitte Bardot. Yeah, it's really good. And that I highly, highly recommend. It is really devastating. And the relationship between the older man and the young woman is actually really well done.
I have seen this movie. I just think I saw it under a different title.
Yeah, that's not the American title. I can't remember what it was, but that's the name of the book, so I can never remember the name. But it had a different. They changed, like, I think they put "woman" in the title, probably for the American.
Yes. I do know this movie that you're referring to, and it really is. It is good. It is quite a tragedy.
No.
Any others that? So would you say that that France is your go-to for noir of all the non-English speaking countries that do noir? Would you say
that's
that France is
the ones that I've seen the most of. So yes, because of that, but that's also just kind of what I've been exposed to, as opposed to, like, I don't know, because you played a film, I can't remember, it's from one of the Scandinavian countries. It was directed by a woman.
Yes, Edith Karlmar.
Yeah.
Called Death is a Caress. Yeah.
And I really liked that movie.
Yeah, that was pretty great. That may have to have a comeback. I'm surprised that that film, that film needs to be restored and issued on Blu-ray or something, because it's. I'm surprised. Sometimes I think that when we find these things and show them, I'm sometimes surprised that people don't like leap in and discover it and like, we got to get this out.
Yeah.
Um,
And also Mexican noirs, I think, are really good.
yes, that's what I was going to say. I completely endorse the Mexican noirs of Julio Bracho and Roberto Gavaldon and Emilio Fernandez, mostly late 40s, early 50s. So they're contemporaneous with the noir movement in America at the time. Obviously, I will throw in a plug for Argentina, because I think the Film Noir Foundation has, not single-handedly, but the Film Noir Foundation has had the leadership role in reacquainting the world with Argentine, if not cinema, at least Argentine noir.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also like the Italian noirs that we've shown. I mean, I still think Assessione is the best version of Postman Always Rings Twice, hands down. I think everybody thinks that that's seen it.
I agree. I haven't actually seen enough. I've only seen like probably less than a dozen Italian noir films, so I can't really make a statement about if there was a movement or anything there, But I will say that if I had to say what are the three countries, and forgive me, I'm going to leave Argentina out of this, because my colleague Fernando Pena has really helped cherry pick for me the best that Argentina had to offer. There may be other brilliant films there that we haven't yet pulled out. But I would say that France, Mexico, and Japan.
Yeah.
Because Japanese noir is plentiful, plentiful, right? From the 50s and 60s. Not a few titles in the 40s, like those early Kurosawa films, Drunken Angel and Stray Dog, and those things got in under the wire there in the 40s. But and they're all very distinctive, and they all have a different approach. But all really, really good. So those are the three, besides the United States, I would say those are the three countries that definitely had a movement there, where there were like a lot of these films were made.
Yeah, and I think there was also in the UK, there's also a big noir movement there too. I mean,
yes,
a lot,
but remember,
a lot of those were co-productions.
Dave asked about non-English speaking.
Oh, non-English speaking. So, okay, I didn't
realize.
So
I was leaving out England entirely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say the two Korean films that you showed at our last International North City were fantastic. Like I would like to see more Korean films.
Yes, from Black Hair and
oh my God,
and The Housemaid.
I mean, those were great.
The Korean films are interesting because they skew towards horror. They skew like The Housemaid especially is like, what is this movie? I mean, besides so completely outrageous that at times you can't even believe what you're watching. Yeah. It's so weird. But man, I love that movie. And but other Korean noir films I've seen from the 50s, it's very interesting because they do tend towards a more horrific depiction of things. So, there's that wonderful fine line between noir and horror, and the Korean movies push up against it as much as any country in the world.
Yeah, and I think you could say that about Parasite too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think The Housemaid was a big influence on Parasite.
Yeah.
I believe
the director talked about it actually.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is that I'm not sure what I'm watching.
Yeah.
Like, this is getting so weird. I'm not sure what genre this falls into.
Oh, by the way, did you watch Squid Game?
No.
Oh my God, you got to watch Squid Game. It's really good.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
I do watch those silly YouTube videos of whatever that thing was that beat Takeshi, the game show that he like co-created with the something castle, where it's like, I think that was the inspiration for Squid Game.
Oh,
right?
I didn't know that.
Like, there was a real TV show where people just had to do these insane competitions, and it looked like really, really dangerous. And anyway,
Oh, okay.
some other episode we'll get into a discussion of Beat Takeshi and his movies, because some of those I just love it. And I love, the another fine line between comedy and, uber violence that he has in his movies is pretty amazing. Like Violent Cop is a movie that just, when I saw that, it was like, oh my God, he is like the Buster Keaton of super violent movies. Right? He just keeps this great stone face and all this bloodshed and everything, and he like never bats an eye. It's pretty great. His whole life story is so fascinating, that he started out as a
comedian.
Anyway, they actually made I don't know if you saw that, they made a movie in Japan about him.
Oh, really?
Like a biopic about him, where a guy played him.
Oh my!
And it was, he's still alive. And it was really, really interesting. Anyway, okay. Last question is from Rick in Magnolia, Texas. He says, this is pretty funny. Rick says, Eddie, when are you going to make a film noir podcast? Rick, I think you're watching it, Rick, right now. I
try not to get offended by that.
Yeah, I think this is pretty close to a podcast, I think. I'm sure it would be a hit. Okay, well, we're giving you one better, Rick. We're doing it with like pictures. You actually get, and cats. You get to see Anne. You get to see.
They're on the pillow together. Oh, now of course, as soon as I said that, she got up.
Oh, but a big pose. She struck a big iconic pose there, and now she is gone. I have no idea where Tizzy got off to. She pulled a door open. Very, very good, Tizzy. She pulled that door open and walked away. Okay, and he says, second, here's a musical trivia question for, just to show he's from Texas, he writes, for y'all.
Y'all.
Okay. Now,
which I say all the time, by the way. I've never been able to get rid of that.
It's a thing. We all know of songs that were once banned from the American airwaves on the grounds of them being subversive, but what is the name and artist of the only instrumental single that received the same fate? Okay, and he has hints that he includes here, but honestly, I don't even need the hints because I know the answer to this one.
All right.
Do you know this one?
I do not.
I mean, I know an answer. We'll find out if it's the one that Rick was thinking of. But the answer, and it was not banned everywhere. It was banned in certain urban areas. It was Rumble by Link Wray. It was a, power chord guitar instrumental thing that's very famous. It's, it's kind of a crime. I don't think Link Wray is, I can't even believe I'm going to say the words Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because it's an oxymoron. I mean, you shouldn't have a Hall of Fame for rock and roll to begin with, right? It's the antithesis of rock and roll is a Hall of Fame. So, but Link Wray, I don't believe Link Wray is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, although he should be. But that was it, Rumble, because radio stations in big cities in the East thought that it was going to inspire gang violence because it was an amped up, fabulous rock and roll instrumental. But because it was called Rumble, they thought that it's just stupid. More idiotic thinking on the part of authority. But that's the one that I know of. So I'll be interested to know if that's the same one that Rick was. There can't be too many instrumental songs that got banned in certain cities. But anyway. Oh, he says that the hints are, this is a song that would have fit just swell in a late 50s noir. Oh yeah. Or perhaps a neo-noir now. Oh, I could definitely see Quentin Tarantino using that music. Yeah, and the writer-musician is generally recognized as the inventor of the rock and roll power chord. Well, that would be Link Wray. So there you go.
Yeah.
But now, Anne, it sounds like you're unfamiliar with Rumble by
I
Link
am,
Wray.
but I will put it on my Spotify because I
Well,
listen to music all the time. So I pull that up. I love Spotify for that. My
It
cousin
would be
got me
very
to
easy to find.
subscribe to Spotify. And he, by the way, when he was in college, DJ'd at a radio station and had his own show and got to play whatever the hell he wanted.
There you go. I actually, in Link Wray, I think he finally died, but long career, because I remember he had a little revival in I think the late 70s or 80s or something, and I actually have a couple of his later albums as well, and yeah, pretty cool character. Anyway, okay, that's all of our questions for this session. How did we do? We not too bad.
Not too bad.
So this was fun. Tizzy wasn't quite as collaborative as I thought she was going to be, but that's the way it goes. Emily is just totally at peace back there.
Yeah.
Just one happy cat, just chilling out. So obviously people can tell this one was done in the daytime because
Yes.
the sun is pouring in. I apologize to people who had to stare at that bright light on my end this whole time, but at least I put up a little light here so you could actually see my face and it wasn't just obliterated. So anyway, thanks, Anne. Thanks
thank
for
you.
your secret is out. You arrange all this. You do all the technical stuff because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I am as effective at this as Emily there. I mean that's as good as I can do. So but we'll be doing another one soon.
Yes. Hopefully, we need to figure out. Yes, I will contact you about trying to get a schedule together. I know we have been not able, as much as I would like, to predict ahead of time when we're going to be able to record and things because we both have very crazy schedules. But I really want to try to keep us on a schedule of at least 2 a month to keep up on the questions that we're getting in. So
well, I had a big trip planned in June to Europe, but I'm not doing that now. So so I'll be around. Although it would have been fun because this was the great thing about Zoom is that it doesn't matter where you go. I could have done this from Europe. I could have been in Italy and we could be doing this right now, and I'd be eating and drinking and having a great time. But that's not gonna. I'll still do that here.
But it's different in Italy.
It is different in Italy. Indeed, it is. Anyway, so thank you everybody for watching and indulging us, and keep the questions coming.
And I do want to remind people, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel because we're trying to grow the channel. If you haven't gone to our channel, besides having all the Ask Eddies on there, we also have interviews from film festivals and some of the trailers from some of the previous North cities and a lot of other good content. And it always really helps if you also share our videos. So
and you can go nice. You can go there right by the time they go there. The interview I did with Thomas Jane will be up on the okay, very good.
We'll get it up there.
People can hear Tom rhapsodize about food. Which he does at the start of this interview. He just goes on and on about the food in France because he okay, I understand. Okay, goodbye Charlotte, goodbye Emily, goodbye Anne. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.